Hey guys, today we have one story about someone that we've been talking about recently a lot, and you'd think, you know, he wouldn't get himself into any more trouble just to kind of keep it to one scandal per year or one scandal per month, but no, we're just gonna stack it up one on top of the other. We're talking about James Charles. Before you get to the video, subscribe, hit that bell, like, comment for engagement, and you'll be in the loop about what's happening on the internet and anywhere else, mainly on the internet. Don't know why I said anywhere else. My beauty channel will be in description along with anything else you might need, and yeah, let's just get into it. So James Charles recently was caught messaging people he shouldn't be messaging. We know all about this. He filmed his holding myself accountable video, which actually had more likes than dislikes when, you know, it was posted, and for the longest time, and recently it just switched where now there is more dislikes than there are likes, which is good. It shows that people do actually want to hold him accountable. There are just more young fans that are willing to believe him and accept his BS excuses of desperation, but now more people are actually coming in and saying no, we don't like this. He has only lost 200,000 subs, which compared to David Dobrik, he lost 500,000. And compared to the first time James was cancelled, he lost 3 million, over 3 million back then. And there really wasn't proof of anything back then. So the fact that there is now proof and he only lost 200,000, that's a really tiny percentage of his whole sub count. He has been demonetized by YouTube for an undisclosed amount of time. They're not really telling us how long he's going to be demonetized for, but he's not posting videos, which to me, it's kind of like they told him they were going to demonetize him maybe, and he was like, okay, I just won't post for that time then. Like what? I don't know. That's like me making theories. Like he knew he was going to get demonetized, so he just said, I'm taking a break off the internet, making it sound like he's taking a break because of the scandal, but in reality he's taking a break because he's getting demonetized. Because if you think about it, when these allegations first came out, he took a 1-week break and then he went back to posting videos. Like he posted his Twitter statement. He said, yes, I've been messaging young boys. I'll see you next week, sisters, for a new collab. So the fact that he didn't take a break back then, but he's taking a break now, makes me think that something had changed. And what changed was the financial situation. It's the same thing as David Dobrik. Like David Dobrik filmed his third channel apology before he lost all of his sponsors, and then he lost all of his sponsors and he did a proper apology on his main channel. With James, he didn't stop posting videos when these allegations came out. He did his little Twitter statement. Everyone was fine with it. Putting all of this in quotations. Everyone was fine with it, according to James. So he just took a 1-week break and went back to posting videos like normal, tweeting, liking tweets, doing his thing. And then when YouTube was like, hey buddy, we have to like demonetize you because this is bad, it's bad luck, we'll have another apocalypse because of you, he was like, oh, I'll stop posting, I'll get off the internet for now, see you later, sisters. There has to be something there. Doja Cat has now unfollowed him on both Twitter and Instagram, and there's actually proof this time, because usually when people are like, oh, this celebrity unfollowed this YouTuber, we never have really proof if they were following them in the first place. But this time we have proof. Someone has a screenshot, an old screenshot of Doja Cat following him, allegedly. Like, screenshots can be faked, I don't know. Like, yeah, there's a screenshot of her following James, and now she's not following James. So now that we got all of that, his ex, people called her a personal assistant. She was an editor and then she was promoted to producer, but she was still editing videos. So she was taken on as an editor for his videos. She was like credited in the description for most videos. And then because of her outstanding and stellar work, he had upgraded her, promoted her to producer. However, he failed to actually fill in the editor position. So she was now a producer and an editor, but only being paid for one of those positions. Like she was only being paid for being a producer, but she wasn't being paid for being an editor, which she was. So she was working overtime. She was working multiple hours a day, which she was not being compensated for. She had a contract for X amount of hours, and anything above that is overtime that she should be paid more for. And she wasn't. She was just being paid her regular wage for a producer, but she was doing producer and editor. She brought this up multiple times saying, you know, I don't have time. You're not hiring anyone. Hire an editor. I'm working multiple hours a day. Can we please just hire someone? They just ignored her, but they kept on praising her for her amazing work and dedication to Sister Sisters LLC. So then we have a concussion happens, right? So she gets a head injury, and James is actually there for that head injury. Like when that head injury happens, he sees it happen. They take an ambulance to the hospital. She gets released. He's demanding work from her, like while she's concussed or like gone through a head injury. He's like getting angry at her for not editing videos. He's like, but like we're missing uploads here. What do you think this is? Like, I get it, you smacked your head on the pavement. I don't know what she actually did, but I get it, you smacked your head on the pavement, but like a video needs to be edited. The sisters are waiting for a video. I don't care that you're dizzy, vomiting, you have migraines, and you can't see properly because of this head injury. I need you to edit. I find these YouTubers shocking. Like the fact that anyone is still actively choosing to work for YouTubers beyond me, because I just feel like as a YouTuber now, like seeing all of this happen, I'm like, I don't know how I don't know how this happens. I don't know how this is allowed. Where is the HR team? Where is the PR team? Where is everything? Why is it not organized? Why is this happening? There are literally labor laws in place to prevent this kind of stuff from happening, and YouTubers still make it happen. Like, if anyone asks me like, oh, should I work for an LA No, do not work for an LA YouTuber. Go work for someone else. Please spare yourself the sadness, just spare yourself the stress, and just go work for someone else. At this point, no. So she gets this head injury on the 3rd of the month. I think it was September. And by the 11th of September, she had gone back to the hospital 4 times. And she didn't just like choose to go back. She was admitted because she was dizzy. She had a problem with vision. She had migraines. So actually on the 4th time when she went to the hospital, they said it was a concussion. Like, you have a concussion, lady. Like, this is what happened. So now he knows, like, James and the whole Sisters corporation that she's suing knows that she has a concussion, which concussions are like really dangerous, really hard to get back from, like bounce back from. It takes ages to go back to normal and go back to how you were before the concussion. You're gonna have a lot of symptoms for a long time, a lot of the time. And he was just like, yeah, but you didn't edit my video and the upload didn't go up, and the sisters are now disappointed. I know you have a concussion, and I realistically should have hired an editor by now, because for the last few months you have been working overtime because I'm refusing to hire someone else to do the job that you're not even supposed to do anymore. But now you have a concussion and you're not doing the job that you're not supposed to be doing anymore. So like, who's at fault here, me or you? Like, that's how I imagine James going through this situation. Just like, I promoted you from editor to producer, and I'm only paying you for the role of producer, but you still have to be an editor, duh. Like, what do you think this is? Do you think we'll have millions of dollars to hire another person? This is how these people become multimillionaires. Is just by exploiting other people. I mean, we've been new, right? We know this about corporations. We do know that this happens. It's just weird to see a YouTuber do this, because you always think, oh, YouTubers are just doing YouTube as a passion project. It's a hobby. No, these are multi-million-dollar corporations functioning the exact same exploitative way as big corporations do. And YouTubers on top of that have this huge ego where it's like, you will like work for me and you'll be happy that you even have this opportunity. Like, you're lucky that I even hired you. And it's like, no, she's just an employee. It's as if she worked for someone else or just another corporation. She doesn't care that you're James Charles. She's just doing her job. And she's going to be appreciative of the wages that you're going to pay her for the overtime that she did. Not that she has this privilege of working for James Charles. You know, let's just tone the ego down a little bit. After her concussion, he fires her. The corporation fires her. I'm laughing because it's uncomfortable. He fires her. And she says, you fired me because I have a concussion and I can't do work. This is why you fired me. And actually 2 days prior, the concussion happening, like the injury, he was praising her for doing amazing work. But then during the concussion, he's like, you're an awful employee. He even alluded to the fact that she wanted time off work because her friend was in town. And he was like, yeah, I'm sure it's the concussion, not your friend being in town. Yeah, I know your friend's in town. But it's like, while she's actively having like migraines, lack of vision, like she's like literally concussed. And he's like, I know you want to go out with your friends. Edit my video right now. This is all happening in 2018, by the way. Like, this is the timeline of her working for James. It was 2018. So that's the ego that Tati was talking about. I was going to get into this. You know, when Tati filmed by Sister, we were all like, oh my God. And then he kind of disproved her and we were all like, oh my God, no, he's a humble sister. No, turns out not humble sister at all. You can tell he had an ego for a while before By Sister dropped. And then he somehow managed to dig himself out of that grave. But he had a huge ego. He thought she was just going to appreciate the fact that he's allowing her to be in his presence. Like, that's the vibe that I'm getting from this. It's like, you're lucky you can even get close to me. Like, we're breathing the same air at this point. Like, what do you mean wages? What do you mean concussion? No, you're lucky you're even here. That's what I'm hearing when I'm reading this, okay? So she was not paid overtime. And then when he fired her, when you fire someone, you're supposed to pay them all the wages that you owe them pretty much at that moment. Like, the moment you're firing them, you're paying all the wages. She still hasn't been paid wages that she was owed pre-being fired for a concussion. Okay, so anyway, she's not paid wages after being fired. She's not paid overtime. So there's overtime. Now, they actually treated, in the lawsuit, they're treating the concussion as a disability. So it was a head injury that then caused a concussion. Concussion is like a long-term thing that you're dealing with, which then they put under disability. So she got fired for a disability, which makes this even worse, right? And then they're putting another thing under that where there was no accommodation for her disability. So she was in hospital, she was in and out of hospital, and James is constantly demanding for her to do work, but he wasn't accommodating the fact that she had this disability. That's against the law. That's against the labor laws. So also there's another fun fact. During kind of that happening, the editor slash producer was actually suing Erica Castell for another labor law situation, which just goes to show like LA YouTubers don't work for them. Another labor law situation, and actually the same lawyer that works for the Erica Castell Corporation, works for Sister Sister. So the lawyers for the editor producer girl are now alleging that there could also be some conspiring between them, where the lawyer had told, you know, James, like, hey, she's actually suing her ex-employer, so she might do the same to you, so you might want to like get rid of her. And then, you know, that's what they're saying in the lawsuit essentially. Even without that point, the fact that she was fired for not being able to do her job while having a concussion is enough, but they just added that on top to just be like, there's another thing. So yeah, the lawyers are the same. She was actually suing Erica Castell and she won that one through a settlement. So they settled out of court. And actually she was tweeting about this. She was like, you know, I won one, I'm going for two. She basically also then tweeted about like karma. She was like, you know, watching someone be really and then actually have the consequences for their actions is really satisfying. That was the general gist of the tweet. And yeah, she's suing now. Also, fun fact, I watched the Emily D. Baker breakdown of the case being kind of put forward, and the courts gave James the chance to do arbitration outside of court. It's kind of like mediation, kind of similar thing, instead of litigation, which is actually going to court, which is really pricey, really like time consuming, the whole thing, right? We used to analyze like all the types of litigation in law, and it's similar in the UK, and that part's actually similar in the UK and in America. There's like mediation, arbitration, litigation, and there was another one that I just cannot remember for the life of me. I'm so sorry. This was like 4 years ago, because I did do law in A-level before anyone's like, oh my god, you're lying, 4 years ago you weren't in law school. Yeah, because I did law A-level as well, where we covered a lot of this. Covering my back before someone's trying to say that I'm lying. Yeah, I did this ages ago, then we just didn't do it in uni. So yeah, they were offered arbitration, and he was supposed to put forward some kind of money to do the arbitration. So they're both supposed to like put money into this like big bundle to be like, this is for arbitration, and he failed to do so. So then the other side was like, okay, we want sanctions for this because he's like elongating this process that's already really long and pricey for my client who hasn't been paid her wages. So like, how's she supposed to cover all of this? And the court said no sanctions. However, this is going straight to litigation. So James has now just put himself into litigation for wages that he could have just paid. Like, this isn't even a big situation. This is him just having to like fairly pay his employees' wages and just refusing to do so, and then refusing to accommodate for the fact that his employee has a concussion. Like, all of this could have been avoided if he was just a decent person. Do you realize like how many good things happen if you're just a decent person? He's not even a decent person. He was like, I'm not going to pay you wages, I'm not going to pay you overtime, I'm going to overwork you though, and then overwork you while you have a concussion, and I'm going to get angry at you because you demand a break during a concussion. This wasn't like 5 months after a concussion. This was actually in the same like week of her having a concussion. I just find it abysmal that this is happening. And I'm glad that she's getting her payback, you know, from Erica Castell and from James. I think there are multiple laws, labor laws being broken here. And I think for each one, she should be paid $10,000. She's also owed, obviously, the wages, the overtime wages, interest. He's probably gonna have to pay her legal fees if he loses, and obviously then like pay the damages, which would be $10,000 per each one of those like laws that he's breaking. He owes her a lot of money, and I hope she gets all of it, because he did just buy himself like a almost $10 million house in LA. So like, I think if you're buying yourself a house like that, you probably have enough money to pay someone wages. Yeah, unless you're like able to buy the house because you're not paying people's wages, which at that point, scum. It's kind of like the same situation as David, where people are like, you can afford that house because of other people doing the hard work for you. They're getting drunk, they're getting injuries, they're doing stunts, and then you get to buy yourself a mansion and then forcing them to get a tattoo for $500 because they can't cover rent. Like, the exploitation that happens in LA shocks me every single time. Anyway, this is all we have for this case right now. This is just a quick summary, and I just want to see where this goes. I'm going to be keeping up with this as closely as I did with the Tati case, and Emily D. Baker's probably going to be covering all of it as well. So yeah, that's that case for now. Let me know what you think. Subscribe, hit that bell, like, comment for engagement, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.